If you're thinking about making a move to Portland, Oregon, it's going to be imperative that you do your research. There is a lot of different areas of Portland. They all come with their own nooks, niches, vibes, lifestyles, and it would really suck to move here and choose something and it doesn't fit who you are. You'd have to sell your house, huge hassle. Nobody wants that. So in today's video, I'm going to cover about 6 general areas of Portland, both East and West Side, in which you can determine if Portland in those areas is a right fit or not. All right, so on today's map tour, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of Portland before we get rolling. So we have some reference points, and then I'll talk about 3 areas on the East Side and 3 areas on the West Side that you can consider as you're making your thought move around, moving to the Portland area. So here we have Portland right smack dab in the middle, and I want to just state the obvious that Vancouver is right north of Portland, right across the river. Keep in mind, Vancouver is Washington State. So we've got the Columbia River that divides Washington from Oregon. And while it is on a map close, a lot of times people realize that it's very different to live in Washington and Vancouver area and beyond than it is in Portland. Secondly we caution everyone on this, a lot of people want to move to Vancouver for various reasons and commute to Portland. You might be signing up for the worst decision of your life because the traffic and the time it's going to take you on a daily basis, and I do mean daily, including weekends, with no relief, is the coming back and forth over those 2 bridges potentially. So please understand, if that is even a thought process for you, that you may want to just choose to live in Portland and or Vancouver and not do the whole commute thing, because it is a nightmare, and that's word to the wise. That's why you're watching this video, is I'm here to tell you the pros and the cons. Okay, so we've got a few freeways and highways to talk about, just to give some more reference. We have the I-5, which runs north to south, north to all the way up to Seattle, and south all the way down through Salem and beyond. And we've got the north and south of 205 that also go north and south, and 205 runs into the I-5 and goes all the way south. We do have some east to west freeways here. The 205 does connect you over to the I-5, but east to west, let me zone in a little closer here so we can kind of take a look at what that looks like. And also, just as a side note, there is the airport right here, which is right on the Columbia River, just north of Portland. Always nice to reference that because most of you fly in and out of here. One of the most beautiful airports, if I do say so myself. If you haven't flown into our brand new, I think $2 billion is what they spent on the darn thing, you're missing out, because it is stunning. But kind of just to give you a little more reference point into some of the freeway systems, we have got Highway 84, which connects to 205 and goes east out towards the Gorge. Great hiking out there, by the way, if you like to hike. We have 84 going west, which takes you down into downtown Portland. And then we've got the 84 that runs through the downtown. And then we've got Highway 26 that will take you out towards Northwest Portland and spit you out towards like the tech sector, Northwest Bethany, Hillsboro, Beaverton, that kind of area. And then of course we have Highway 99, which runs along the north and south of both sides of the river. And a lot of people use that sometimes versus getting on a freeway system. What communities I'm going to reference in this. Now, as I promised, I'm going to talk about 6. 3 on the west, 3 on the east. We're going to start with one that you guys always ask us about, you hear about the most when you're researching Portland, and that is Lake Oswego. Is one of those cities that most of you guys kind of want to know if you can afford to live there, and rightfully so, because the con of Lake Oswego, if we can just get right to it, is that it's expensive. The average sales price in Lake Oswego right now, as I do this video, is $1.443 million for the medium list price. And about a year ago, it was hovering in the $1.6 million range. And that might not be enough of a house at that price point. Many times when people run off, they're like, what can I get for $1 million? And what can I get for 1.2? And it's kind of sad but true, but the dollar just doesn't get you that far in Lake Oswego. And of course, Lake Oswego has a lake. That's why it's called Lake Oswego. And of course, living on the lake is going to cost you. Many homes on the lake are $3 million on up. It'd be hard pressed to find anything less or around that because it might be a fixer. But to get on the lake is a very exclusive thing. But don't worry, you can buy in Lake Oswego and still get a potential swim easement, boat easement, an easement of sorts to get yourself on the lake so you too can enjoy the activities. There's a lot of neighborhoods that the homes in it do have easements, but you want to be careful because not all houses have easements. And that's part of your home search if you do choose to stay in the Lake Oswego area. What else makes Lake Oswego so great? Well, the school system. It's pretty much #1 in the state of Oregon year over year. A lot of people move their families to Lake Oswego so they don't have to pay for private schools. It's always tried and true that those schools are primo. And so year over year, property values go up because of it. The other thing is Lake Oswego is totally landlocked. There's nowhere to build a subdivision. Basically, what builders and developers do is they will buy an older home or a house on a big lot or in a very established area, and they know they could pay $600,000, $800,000, $900,000 for an older home, tear it all the way down, and build a multi-million-dollar house, and they will get the money back from that. So land in Lake Oswego is very expensive, very hard to find, and usually the builders are grabbing at everything they can to build primo multi-million-dollar properties on it. There's many, many neighborhoods and subdivisions within Lake Oswego, and there are very many different price points within that. Can you find a property around or under $1 million? Absolutely. In fact, we have a client right now in escrow for about $950,000, and it's got good square footage. It's a great house. There's definitely inventory in the 7s, 8s, and 9s, but it's just what you're going to get for that. And if square footage and condition is a factor for you, it's definitely going to be a factor in your pricing. But yes, we can find inventory under $1 million, and there's plenty of townhomes and condominium options that are fantastic to consider in the Lake Oswego area. So it's not that you can't touch it. It's just that when you start looking at what your money gets you may realize that the type of house you're going to get is more important. Now, just to kind of showcase the downtown area while we're here, oh, look, there I am. My office is in downtown Lake Oswego. It's a fantastic area. I can't say enough good things about downtown Lake Oswego. There is a true downtown with tons of shopping, restaurants. One of my favorite taco joints is right there in Lake Oswego. They have a beautiful Millennium Park Plaza, which looks over the lake. They have an awesome farmers market there. And by the way, farmers markets are prevalent in Portland. So if you're worried about, not finding a farmers market near you, trust me, there's farmer markets in almost every major city in the Portland metro area. We're big on local and farmers markets. But downtown Lake Oswego really has a special kind of vibe because it's just got so many premier restaurants, and it's got Salt and Straw, which is one of our cult favorites here in Portland. It's an ice creamery that has taken off all over Portland and beyond. Lake Oswego, it's just not easy to find neighborhoods and areas of town that really offer you, tons of parks, beautiful settings. It's an established location within the Portland metro area. So many people have always fought to get into Lake Oswego. It is pretty big though. So one of the cons that I tell people is when you're looking in Lake Oswego, you absolutely have to factor in drive time, because let me explain something to you. I'm going to show you with let's say you buy a house on this side of the lake, okay? But you commute and have to get on the freeway over here. It can literally take you, whether you're going this way or if you go around, just to get around to that area, that could take you 15, 20 minutes. A lot of stop signs, stop lights, roads that go to and fro that kind of slow you down a little bit. And I've had a lot of people complain about, if they're living in Lake Oswego, that it can take you a really long time to get around Lake Oswego or even to downtown, just because depending on where you're situated in Lake Oswego, you're just driving just to get around, because the lake actually sits right in the middle of Lake Oswego. And so you feel like you're kind of just going around and around and around the lake. Another note to make, a plus about Lake Oswego, first of all, they just finished off an aquatic center, a really great fitness aquatic center, community area that I just literally opened in the last week. I'm hearing rave reviews about it. Kind of sits next to the Lake Oswego public golf course here. And Lusher Farm. Oh, we can't not talk about Lusher Farm. We actually did a video that included Lusher Farm, but Lusher Farm is this gorgeous public area that we'll start off with, it has a public dog park. for big and small dogs. I love it when they do that because then it makes it so you can put your big dogs in the big area and your small dogs in the other ones. It's just a very thoughtful way to do a dog park. They have public gardening, so you can be a part of gardening, vegetables and fruits and flowers. They have loads of walking trails that go for miles and miles and miles. Scenically gorgeous in that area because it still has that feeling of a farm area where you are getting you're in the suburbs, but you don't feel like you're in the suburbs. You feel like you're still back in yesteryear. They've kept a lot of the vintage kind of, feel of the area. They've got a rec field area where kids can play like soccer and whatnot. They have, outdoor playground. They have public restrooms that are nice and clean. The whole area is really sprawling and beautiful. If you go down Stafford Road, it is well worth stopping in and just going for a walk in that area with a friend or grab a coffee and go down there because it is just absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And they also have a Oswego vineyard. I actually had a client event there one year. It's a great venue as well as a winery. You can go in there. It's public. You can go to their tasting room. They actually have really good wine. Long ago when I was a young kid, this was a dilapidated horse barn and they had tons of manure out there. And the only reason why I bring that up is because now the soil is so rich that they have made it, a fantastic area to grow wine in. So I'm just kind of showing you some pictures of this area, but feel free to go check it out. It is a gorgeous area to go. Just enjoy, sit outside, have a beautiful glass of wine. If you have a wedding or you want a venue, they've got a great space inside to do all of that. So Lake Oswego is living up to the hype. There's not a lot of, cons in living in Lake Oswego. The biggest con being it usually prices a lot of people out, or they can afford to be there, but they just aren't getting the type of housing they really, really need to live comfortably. So a lot of times we take them to other areas to explore that are really close by that offer some really great options. Let's go to what one of those is next. Okay, the next area I want to talk about is the Tigard South Beaverton area, kind of this little quadrant that we're finding a lot of our clientele kind of gravitating towards. And some of the reasons they're doing that is because, number one, you can get new construction in this area. There's an explosion of growth in this particular area. It has pricing options for a lot of different budgets. And people are finding the new construction, there's a lot of different builders. So if you're looking for kind of, the custom luxury builder like Toll Brothers or David Weekley Homes, or there's several other builders in the area that really do a beautiful job of kind of blending in, the community with walkability, with parks. It really is a special area. And I really think in the next 5 to 8 years, you're going to see this area be the place to be because they're thoughtfully trying to make this area not just new construction houses, but they're putting in dog parks. They're putting in big parks. They're also going to be putting in retail like live work so that you can walk to the coffee shop, the restaurant, the commerce. And that's something that's really big to people that move here is they always ask about walkability. And it's kind of hard to get walkability. We've talked about this on other videos where you can find walkability, but it's few and far between on the west side, and there's not always the type of housing you need within that walkable area. But new construction, when you have the type of new construction they're doing, with the price points really being accessible for most people, if you're in the $700,000 to $800,000 range for a single family dwelling, you can have a lot of options. There's even stuff in the 5 and 6s. It's smaller, or it's more of like, cottage style homes or townhome options, but there's a budget kind of for everybody in these areas, and they're not totally breaking the bank. Currently, right now, a lot of the builders are doing huge buy down packages. So your interest rates are, well below what market rates are going for. And we've just helped a lot of people buy into this area. Also, there's just more amenities nearby. For instance, Progress Ridge, which we've done some videos on before. I'll kind of hone in on this. It's a big shopping area nearby. It's got an anchor store like New Seasons. It's got a La Provence, which is like a French kind of place you can go to eat. They've got a man-made lake there. They've got coffee shops, movie theater. This brings in a lot of the people that live in the area. They've got a park nearby. You can walk around the lake and the park. There's also another well-established shopping area nearby called Murray Hill that's been around for a really long time. There's also kind of the Murray Hill Tap House and Cafe, which I was just there the other day. It sits over a man-made lake that's just gorgeous. It's really a nice nice area, and it feels like you have a lot at your fingertips. If you're the type that likes to get out and walk around, you like things at your fingertips. It's not necessarily like walkable from all the housing, but I kind of liken it. You do need a car in this area. You're going to be hard pressed to get away from a car in the Portland metro area in general, but in this area, you still want a car, but you're close to stuff, which is what I like. I like to be able to like get to and from amenities and things that I need to get done, like errands or go out to dinner or whatever. And the trend in Portland is that more and more people are living in the area that they're in, meaning they're living there with their housing, but they're also going out to dinner and staying closer to where they're living at. You know, we've talked about on videos how downtown Portland is still going to be some time before it really, really revitalizes itself and brings all those awesome restaurants and such back. And so what people are doing is they're choosing to stay in the burbs to have dinner. So a lot of these restaurants are kind of thriving in the area because that's where people are kind of going out and doing their nightlife. There's not a lot of nightlife here in the burbs, especially in this area. But if you're going to go have a meal out, then you kind of stay in the area that you're in. And this particular part of the Tigard South Beaverton area has it. If you go out to this area, you're also going to see the biggest, not the biggest, but one of the biggest new high schools out there called Mountainside. It looks kind of like a beacon on a hill when you're on the intersection of Shoals Ferry and Roy Rogers. So this is kind of the Mountainside area. This is Beaverton address. This is kind of all the Southwest Beaverton area. This is like the Tigard area. And then we've got Sherwood address on the other side of Roy Rogers and just south of Shoals Ferry. So you kind of have this like quadrant here of 3 cities that intersect all together, but there's a ton of new construction. It's one of the few areas where you can get new construction because we just aren't growing fast enough in Portland and there's such a population demand. Why else do people live here? Because it's really, really close to the high-tech area. It's close to Intel, which you can take the back roads. In fact, I'll kind of veer out the map so you can kind of see, but a lot of people don't want to get on the freeway system. They want to be close to work. And if you live in the Tigard area, you know, you can take the back road from this whole area we've been talking about all the way back here. And I'm going to tell you right now that it is a beautiful drive. It's country property. It's all, you know, farmland out there, and people love taking the back roads to get to their work. And so if you kind of scroll out here, let me just kind of show you, you're not that far, or it's a pretty quick drive to get to like Aloha, Hillsboro, Beaverton, where, you know, the semiconductor, they call it Silicon Forest is. And so for driving purposes, if you're kind of out in this area, it's not far away from this. Not to mention, there's a lot of people that work at Nike, one of our other big employers in the area. And so people who work at Nike, they tend to live in and around Beaverton, Tigard, these kind of areas. They, again, are not wanting to hop on a freeway system to get to and from. It just is uncomfortable to be on the freeway system trying to get to those particular areas. So South Beaverton, Tigard area has become booming with population growth. I've been hosting a ton of open houses, and I can tell you that people are moving to the Westside in droves and relocating to the area. They still offer really good school districts, so you don't have to compromise on schools. There's a lot of community and family activities and areas that you can go to. So it's really driving people there right now for a lot of reasons. And anytime you kind of have a boom in this, you're going to see the population, you know, kind of grow in this area. It's one of the few areas we're actually building a lot of new construction in within the west side of the Portland area. So, you know, again, it probably the con would be is if you're hoping to commute to the east side from here or downtown Portland, you know, it's not a great location because you will have to take, you know, the freeway system, and you'll, even more importantly, you would have to take some of these roads that get pretty congested, like Shoals Ferry, this main road, to get all the way down to the freeway. But most of the people that work out here, they all work and live on the west side. So yeah, that's kind of the setup over here. And again, another reason why I bring it up is because a lot of people are choosing this area right now. Okay, the third west side city that I'm gonna bring up here is Wilsonville. It sits further south on the I-5 interchange, and I'll kind of point this out to you. So here's I-5. If you go further down I-5, you're going to hit Woodburn, Salem, Kaiser area, which is effectively Marion County. And it also goes north towards the interchange near Tualatin and the West Linn kind of area. It does get congested. That's the con of living in Wilsonville, is that you have to get on the freeway system regularly. Let me just show you where it kind of gets bottlenecked. Everybody talks about this one. It's right here. So in this area right here, if you're going, you know, north on I-5 from Wilsonville, there is kind of this, like, you're either going to go, east on the 205 or you're going to go north on the I-5. But in addition to that, these are people coming from the 205 that are either going south or north. So it's kind of this conjecture of all this traffic that comes in here. And so it kind of gets bottlenecked really fast in this area, especially during heavy traffic time. The beauty of it is that if you don't have to use the freeway, there are back roads that sometimes a lot of us in the area choose over just hopping on the freeway. And back roads can be right back here in the Stafford kind of like farm area to get over here. Or if we're heading to the west side, we can take the back roads through Sherwood, Tualatin to get over to the west side. I actually just did that this morning when I was down in Wilsonville to drop something off. But it's one of those where, you're kind of living and working in the area. And a lot of places in Portland are kind of like that, where you don't really leave too often to get out of the area. But Wilsonville has a Costco. It has tons of shopping. It's got a lot of your amenities, your healthcare, your fast food restaurants, restaurants in general. It's got a park. Memorial Park is big and it's fairly flat and it butts up against the river. You've got tons of walking trails and sidewalks. It's got, a park for everyone. You can rent it to do like family or work events. It's really a beautiful park. We actually just sold a condo right on the edge of Memorial Park that sat next to the Wilsonville Library because our client just wanted to walk out her door, go to the library, walk over to some of the, Safeway shopping. And so there is some like really great condo options. That was like a $450,000 condo, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, really nice, kind of in that area, just to give you an idea of things. But that's what's on the west of the I-5. So we try to explain to people, you've got this whole area on the west side of Wilsonville. And then if you go on the east side, let's kind of cover one of the larger planned communities on the west side of town. It started in the early 2000s. In fact, I was a realtor in the early 2000s, dating myself. But this is called Villebois. And Villebois, we've done a video on it. It's a very walkable, fairly flat community, beautifully done. It has multiple builders that have built in this neighborhood over the years. They have many, many parks throughout. I actually had to rent in there a few years ago when I had a leak in my house and I had to have a renovation done. And I rented a house in there for about a month and I loved it. I could take my dog out my door. There's people walking and playing in the parks. And I mean, it really is a vivacious area. And I would say the demographics are primarily families, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of young professionals as well as older retirees that live in this community. It's a very nice blend of demographics, but I would say primarily families. There's a lot of single family homes, but there's also a ton of townhomes, condos, attached housing, carriage houses where it's kind of like, your garage is in the back. It really is a community of thousands of homes designed around livability and, communal sense with your neighbors. They have events throughout the summer that bring people together in the park system. I'm just really impressed with the way they've designed it. It has taken the better part of probably 15 to 20 years to really fulfill this community out, and they're still, building. Prices range in there. You can get, condos and townhomes in the 400s. You can get single family homes from the 7/8 on up. So there's kind of a price point range for everybody and a style of housing, but definitely worth consideration if you're looking for kind of a planned, established neighborhood, and you want to be in that Wilsonville area. And there are some other great communities within the Wilsonville area that we don't have time to cover, but just understand that there is something for everybody here. And one last area I'm going to mention about the Wilsonville area is Charbonneau. Now, we call it Charbonneau. It shares the same zip code as Wilsonville, and it's over the river from Wilsonville. So the Willamette River is kind of between Wilsonville and Charbonneau. Now, Charbonneau is not a 55 or older community, but it is and acts like a 55-year-old older community. We just did a video on it, or no, we did a video on it. We actually just got a call from somebody who saw our video, and they want to be close to their daughter, and they want kind of an active 55 plus community. And while we have to tell people it's not necessarily a 55 or older community, it definitely has an average age group of about 65. And it feels and looks like a 55. There's a lot of single family type style homes. There's attached housing. There is a golf course, a community center. There's a great bakery within the Charbonneau community that whenever I go in there to meet up with clients or cruise through that location, I find myself stopping at the great little bakery in the area, Lux Bakery. Who doesn't like a good croissant and a cup of coffee or tea? But they've got all that in there. It's not a super big shopping area, but you know, it's nice to have something in there. But yeah, Charbonneau has a very mature landscaped, established community built back in the 80s, you know, early 90s. They've got, you know, really expensive homes, luxury homes, as well as, you know, condos and everything in between. So if you're kind of looking for that like active, older, adult, mature feeling, I highly recommend considering this. Like I said, it's not, it's kind of a Wilsonville address, but we call it Charbonneau because it really is its own little enclave just over the river here. All right, the next little neighborhood I'm going to tell you about on the east side, so now we're on the east side, is Sherwood, Oregon. And Sherwood, Oregon has my heart. I just love Sherwood so much. If I were to choose one place on the east side that I would probably look into looking at moving to, would be Sherwood. I call it a cult following because a lot of people do their research about moving to Portland and they all seem to gravitate towards Sherwood, or at least we find ourselves having conversations with more and more people about Sherwood. Here's the thing that's great about Sherwood. You can tell right out of the gates the location. Sherwood sits on the inner southeast Portland side. So you're really close to just about everything. You're literally hop, skip, and a jump across the river from the west side. So there's the Sherwood Bridge, which is right here. And it literally takes you no time at all to get across the bridge and be on the west side. So if you look at going to the Southwest Portland area, you're there. If you're looking at going to the downtown area, you're there. You want to get to John's Landing, you're there. You want to get down Highway 43 and go towards Lake Oswego, Westland, you're there. So you're literally right over there. Oh, and by the way, OHSU, which is right here in the Southwest area, really close. So if you're in the medical field or want to be close to OHSU, you're really, really close. On the other side of things, if you're on the east side and you want to get further east, you can take 99 to get into Milwaukee. You can take, 26 up here. You can take 99 to get further into downtown, east side, northeast side. It's kind of close to everything fast. And with that, it sits really close to the river, which is beautiful. You can actually see from parts of Sherwood, kind of in the downtown area, look into the, kind of the vantage point. It has Oaks Park, which is this, built in the turn of the century, this old park that still exists right at the waterfront. There's a great big park down there at the waterfront, which is lovely. And it's probably one of the more walkable east side communities. Now, you're not going to be able to walk from every single place. You still probably want a car. But if you're looking for that community where it's like you want to be able to walk fairly flat to most areas, I'd say Sherwood's a pretty good bet. Has one of my favorite bakeries, Grand Central. They're all over Portland, but every time I go through Sherwood, I stop at Grand Central Bakery. They have awesome restaurants in the area. They've got coffee shops. They've got my favorite sushi place. It's just, when you feel like you're in Sherwood, it's got a vibe to it. It's not pretentious, but it feels like Portland, casual Portland. The houses are smaller bungalows. Probably the con to Sherwood is we find, number one, there's just not a lot of inventory. If you're on a budget, let's say your budget's in the $500,000 or $600,000 range, we're probably looking at mostly townhomes, because if you look at single family homes in that budget, they're usually needing a ton of work. I would say the sweet spot for Sherwood in general is $750,000 to $850,000. Anything less than that, you're going to really struggle to find single family housing unless you're open to townhomes. And by the way, we have sold some fantastic townhomes in Sherwood that are amazing. So if you're going to buy a townhome anywhere, I say look at Sherwood. It is a great option for people that want to kind of be in that, it's got some energy to it. It's, you're in the city, but you kind of feel like you're in your own little enclave in Sherwood. And they've got some key stores there. They've got a New Seasons. You can kind of, work or live within this region and not have to venture too far out, but you're close to everything. So, it's kind of one of those where you're in the city, but you don't feel like you're so urban that it doesn't have that sense of community to it. So I can't say enough good things about Sherwood, but again, inventory levels are always low. There's just not a ton of inventory that comes on the market. And when it does, good stuff does go quickly. And it's also 100-plus-year-old houses, guys. Unless you're buying a townhome, there's some new construction or newer-ish townhomes. If you're going to go for the older bungalows, the single-family homes, just be aware that they come with 100-year-old problems. Some of them have been renovated. The ones that have been renovated, the prices are going to be higher. So it's that balancing act between finding your needs met and getting a house that's in good condition. But overall, it's a really great community. All right, the second neighborhood or town on the east side that I wanted to showcase was Oregon City. Now, Oregon City is east side, but it sits in Clackamas County. It's not Multnomah County like Sherwood is Multnomah County. It sits on the furthest point of the 205. So it's kind of in this little swing area. Like if you're coming down the 205 going south, and it's kind of riding up against the Willamette River where Westland's over here. And Oregon City's on the other side. And there's a downtown Oregon City that's on the lower half of the hill. They're older homes, homes built in the turn of the century, 100-plus-year-old. A lot of them have been renovated. There's a great little downtown area that has, in my opinion, it's still up and coming, but they've done so much in the way of like restaurants and coffee shops and whatnot. There is some municipal buildings down there, so the courts and all that. But then you get to the top of the hill and you've got a variety of neighborhoods. Now, when people ask us for RV parking, 3-car garage, or 1 level, 2 levels, this is where we usually send them. Because if you're looking for RV parking, there's no other place in the Portland area that has more RV parking available in their housing options than Oregon City. It does feel like a small town. I really feel like Oregon City has that small town vibe. So you're still in the Portland metro, but you're not so far out that it feels like you're away from everything. In Oregon City, you can get on the freeway system, the 205, and get, anywhere within about 20, 30 minutes, mostly, but you're not so far out that, you're spending, 20, 30 minutes just commuting in to get to the 205. Now, there is acreage options. The beautiful part about Oregon City is that they do have a variety of acreage because there still is farmland out there, hobby farms, as well as luxury. We've sold a lot in some of the luxury gated communities. And you get a lot for your money, a lot of value for your money on those properties. And it's not like you're being priced out. Like some of those luxury acreage homes, if they were in, say, Lake Oswego or Westland, you'd be paying, $400,000 or $500,000 more for the same property. And it's all about how you want to live. Like there's some really great Mount Hood views of some of those homes. And if you're really into having kind of that out of the way feel, but still be close into everything, then this is a really good option. And Oregon City has, stores and anchor stores in it. So you don't have to leave Oregon City to do your shopping. You can shop at the Fred Meyer or the Safeway. They've got Wilco Farm Store. They've got tons of fast food options. They've got some restaurants. There's a hospital in Oregon City, Willamette Falls Hospital. They kind of have it all within Oregon City, so you wouldn't have to leave Oregon City to do a lot of your day-to-day. And I point that out because a lot of people tend to live where they live. I say that a lot, but it's true. Now, if you're commuting or you're leaving town to travel, then you're going to drive. And I'm going to pull back the map a little bit to give you guys a sense of like where Oregon City sits in regards to the Portland metro area. So I'll grab my little tool here. So here's Portland, and here is the Portland Airport area. And Oregon City's right here. So, you take the 205 north probably to get to the airport, or you would. Or you can take the 205 west, and there's a little bit of a commute. It does get pretty trafficky around here as you go towards the west side, but then you can be on an I-5 pretty quick. So that just kind of gives you a sense of like, you can see that Oregon City's like down at the very far bottom here. We talked about, so this is the east side of Portland. This is the west side of Portland. So it's kind of at the very bottom here. And we did also talk about Wilsonville a second ago. And that's kind of down this area here, just to give you some reference points where it's at. And also Oregon City's not breaking the budget bank. And a lot of people, when they're looking at West Linn or, Lake Oswego or other parts of Portland, and if they're not totally location, they have to have a certain part, then there's a lot to offer. I mean, in Oregon City, you can get a lot for your money. I would say maybe check out the school ratings. That might be the only thing that for some people, if they're really kind of stacking up all the schools, the public schools in Portland, that one I don't know that would rate the highest. It's not the lowest, but it would definitely be, find your options. They do have some really good schools in Oregon City. Some of them are private. But overall, there's a lot to offer in Oregon City, and a lot of people tend to find they can get everything they want in the Oregon City area. All right, the last East Side neighborhood I wanted to showcase was Happy Valley. And there was a lot of East Side neighborhoods I could choose from, especially the older bungalowy, the Portlandia feel neighborhoods on the East Side. But I wanted to showcase a suburb on the East Side because this one is kind of our newer suburb, if you will. I mean, Happy Valley's been around for, forever. But in the last 20 years, it has seen an explosive amount of growth, especially new construction. And it has a lot of luxury home options where you're definitely paying $1 million plus, but you're not paying insane multi-million dollar prices. You can get so much for your money on the East Side in Happy Valley. One of the most significant suburbs on the East Side, if not like one of the only suburbs on the West Side that makes a consistent effort to build out its area. If you drive into Happy Valley, you're going to see a lot of newer everything, not just new construction, but there's a lot of shopping, strip malls and so forth that all feel new. And some people want that consistency. You go out there, it kind of feels like, wow, it's got a freshness to it that you don't often see happening in Portland because, like I said, we have an urban growth boundary that goes all the way around Portland, this imaginary circle that goes all the way around Washington County, Clackamas County, Multnomah County, and we just don't have the explosion of growth that so many other cities have. If I go to Florida or Phoenix or parts of Texas, I see just subdivision after subdivision after subdivision of newer homes. But we can't do that here in Portland, you guys. We are restricted and limited by our ability to do new construction. So the good news about that, though, is that we keep our home values pretty, consistently moving in the upward direction because the housing we have is the housing we have. And it doesn't allow us to do urban sprawl, which right now I'm hearing from colleagues that are in areas like Phoenix and Texas and Florida that all that urban sprawl is now catching up to them since they've been just building like crazy the last few years. And now their values are kind of coming down. Well, ours don't. And that's the beauty of it here. So if you're needing to be on the east side of town and you want that newer kind of construction or feel, you really can't beat Happy Valley. There's nothing like it on the east side. You'd have to go to the west side to get something close to it. Now, the location of Happy Valley kind of works for a lot of people. You've got the airport on the east side, so it's right at the freeway. We get a lot of our clients that want to be close to the freeway. They travel for work or they leave town often. They have a second home, and it just makes sense. You're just right up the freeway from the airport. It's really close to Clackamas Town Center Mall. It's right off the freeway from that. There are all kinds of housing options. They have newer townhomes, condos, single family home, and luxury homes that are all being built now or have been built in the last 10 to 20 years. They have really good schools. They've got, kind of everything at your fingertips as far as like amenities. So if you're looking for your gym to be close by, your nail salon, your schools, all these things that, people in the suburbs tend to want to be having close to them because they have busy lives, families, things of that nature. This is kind of your best of both worlds for all of that. And you're just getting a lot for your money. So that's a video that just represents just a few neighborhoods and areas of the Portland area, both east and west, but it doesn't cover all the areas. So I encourage you to reach out to us if you guys are making the move and want to talk over what you're looking for, what makes sense for you, because we do a customized approach for everybody. And there are so many neighborhoods and areas that might work for you. And you don't want to move here and pick the wrong area and just, have that experience where you just known before you got here that there were certain areas that might work better for you or your budget. Then get on a call with us, reach out to us. We're here to help you, and we'll see you guys on the next video.